Hi, Oddings. Do you want to hear something thrilling? The Return of Ghost Hunters is out now, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and followed by Psychic Kids at 10 p.m. 15 years after introducing the world to the fields of authentic paranormal investigation, Ghost Hunters returns to television now on A&E. The series that terrified and captivated fans for 11 seasons will follow one of the original team leaders, Grant Wilson, and his hand-picked group of professional ghost hunters as they use their decades of field experience to investigate hauntings across the country. Engaging forensic experts, historical records, and the most innovative technology available, the new squad will help everyday people who are struggling with unexplained supernatural phenomena. Psychic Kids will follow Ghost Hunters with all new episodes featuring past Psychic Kids from the original show, who are returning as successful adults to empower a new generation of young psychics. They will spend time with the children and their families to assist them in taking control of their paranormal abilities, as well as showing them the remarkable power of their immense gifts. Be sure to tune in to A&E as the network returns to paranormal programming on Wednesdays with Ghost Hunters at 9 p.m. and Psychic Kids at 10 p.m.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Want to hear something scary?
Don't invite a dummy.
The following story was inspired by Chan. I live in Jamaica. Here, everyone has ghost stories, or as we call them, Duppy stories. My obsession with Duppy began when I was 11, when I was at my grandma's funeral. There was nobody in attendance except me, my little sisters Tanya and Nina, my mom, and my uncle Louis. They lowered my grandma's coffin into the ground, and my uncle placed an upside-down shrub on the coffin, roots pointed up. I looked up at my mom, who was staring intently at the grave. "Mom, what is that?" She was stone-faced and said nothing. My Uncle Louis put his hand on my shoulder. "Little Chan, when people die, the good soul goes up to heaven and the bad soul stays in the ground. After 3 days, the bad soul's shadow rises up and walks the earth as a duppy." He continued, "If the shrub faces down, the shadow gets confused and stays put. But if the shrub faces right side up," he shook his head and clicked his tongue. My mother became enraged. "Stop telling her that shit," she hissed. From that day on, Duppy were all I could think about. I followed my Uncle Louis around, asking him to tell me more Duppy stories. "Duppy?" he laughed. "They're as real as me or you, but they're all bad. They're mean. They can grab you, hurt you, or worse. Don't look for Duppy, and never ever invite a Duppy to come to you." "But are there any cute Duppy?" I asked. "You wouldn't like them. They stink of death, and they have no face, just wide, grinning teeth." He made a scary face, and I screamed. Then we both laughed hysterically. The next day, I skipped through the graveyard carrying a basket of flowers and placed them one by one in front of 13 tombstones. With each one I placed, I said, "Duppy, Duppy, come to me." A week later, the worst possible thing happened. Uncle Louis was killed in town by a mugger. The culprit got away and was never found. And just like that, we were burying another relative. I was given the job of placing the shrub on the coffin. I thought about my Uncle Louis and how I would do anything to see him again. I placed the shrub on his coffin and uttered under my breath, "Duppy, Duppy, come to me." We inherited my grandma's house from Uncle Louis, and my sisters, mom, and I moved in after the funeral. There was a coldness about my grandma's house. It was sad and smelled weird. The lights in some of the rooms didn't turn on, and what daylight came in through the windows was dimmed by the large trees outside. My mom became weirdly needy to me and my sisters. I would walk Tanya and Nina home from school and find my mom sitting on the veranda, waiting for us to get home. She smiled and welcomed us, but her eyes wore a secret pain. I think she didn't want to be alone inside the house. At night, the wind had begun to bellow and shake the walls. My mom would cook meals, and they would become rotten when she turned her back on them. She dragged a cot into our room to sleep and abandoned her own room altogether. Then one day, my mom confronted me. She asked me, "Chan, what direction did you plant the shrub on top of Uncle Lewis?" I stammered. The way I was supposed to, with the roots pointing up." I lied. "I see," she said with a calm fury. Pangs of guilt stung my skin. Later that night, the wind got so loud that the rattling of the roof woke me up. My mom and my sisters were sound asleep. I groped through the darkness to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water. On my way back to the room, the wind built in intensity, and the door to my mom's bedroom began to swing rapidly open and shut. I was too curious to turn away. I peeked through the door, and there was just my mom's empty bed and personal things she hadn't bothered to remove. The trees thrashed violently outside the window. I took a few steps forward until I was standing at the center of the room. The wind erupted into a chorus and whistled louder than ever. I got a knot in my stomach as I smelled something rotten. I heard my own teeth chattering, and my curiosity turned to pure dread. The closet door creaked ajar, and what I saw turned my legs to quivering jelly. A hand with long, pointy fingers curled around the closet door. My hand softened. I heard my water glass shatter on the ground. My body pivoted weakly towards the window. The moon came out from behind the clouds and twisting trees and revealed 13 silhouettes standing in the room with me. One for every flower I placed in the graveyard. They bore featureless faces and grinning mouths. Too stunned to run, I fell terrified to the ground, fumbling and clambering awkwardly to the exit on my hands, elbows, and knees. Bony fingers clawed at me and tried to pull me back. They scratched my skin as I struggled loose. A hand grabbed my ankle and almost yanked me away until I kicked for my life. Trembling, I finally scrambled through the door and slammed it shut behind me. The wind moaned in concert with labored gasps as the sound of hands battered the door. I began to weep as I nervously ran back down the hall. "Mom? Tanya? Nina? We need to leave this house now!" I opened the door to the bedroom where my family slept. In an instant, I felt my whole world drop away beneath me. There on the floor were the lifeless bodies of Tanya, Nina, and my mom. Above them stood a shadowy figure. It was my Uncle Lewis, but his warm eyes and comforting smile were gone, now replaced with a terrifying grin and unearthly stench. He stepped towards me and said,
Duppy, come to me."
Thank you to all of our patrons, especially Lewis, who had a character named after them in this week's episode. If you'd like to join our VIP program, visit patreon.com/snarl. So a couple weeks ago, I had a booth at the horror convention Midsummer Scream, and I got to meet so many of you, and it was awesome. Lots of people who weren't familiar with the show came up and asked questions, and I made sure that they all left with one of my custom business cards from Vistaprint. It's more than just passing along your contact information. It's making a connection with a future fan or a future collaborator. Your next big opportunity is coming right now, and for just $10, Vistaprint gives you 500 personalized cards with exactly the look you want. That's a low price to make a lasting impression. And because you can choose the colors, fonts, designs, and images, you can create something as unique and compelling as your business. I, for instance, made mine look like Ouija boards. Plug your information and logo into hundreds of fresh designs tailored to your type of company, or upload your original layout. Order and receive your cards in as few as 3 days. Your satisfaction is 100% guaranteed, or your money back. Vistaprint wants you to be able to own the now in any situation, which is why our listeners will get 500 high-quality custom business cards starting at $9.99. Just go to vistaprint.com/ss. Want more Something Scary? You can hear more stories over on the Something Scary podcast, available for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. The links are in the description below. If you'd like to submit a story, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Like and share this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, sweet dreams. Before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to Snarled and the bell is turned on for notifications, and make sure that you're following me so you can stay up to date on my future projects. You know that ghost stories are my passion, but even I need the occasional break. So when I feel like I need a mental palate cleanser, my go-to refresher is Best Fiends. Best Fiends is a casual mobile game that anyone can play at any time, and it's a lot safer than the games and rituals that I usually talk about on this show. I'm personally a huge fan of puzzle games, and Best Fiends adds a very cute and unique twist involving bugs and slugs. I love all the different characters you can collect and upgrade, and the increasingly challenging puzzles. It's super easy to learn. The hard part is putting it down. Best Fiends is updated monthly with new levels and events, so it's always fresh. And because it doesn't require internet to play, you can play anywhere, on a road trip, on a plane, or even in your grave. Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Download this 5-star rated mobile game for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R. Best Fiends. And now, back to the show.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Want to hear something scary?
Beware the boot.
The following story was inspired by Sia. It was Kai's first day driving for the rideshare app CarShare along the streets of New Delhi, India. He'd recently lost his job and needed to make money while looking for a new one. But he had driven around all day and had not received a single passenger. Tired of wasting his gas and his time, he was about to turn the app off when he finally got a notification. A woman named Sia was looking to be picked up in a sort of sketchy area of town. Kai really needed the money, so he accepted the ride and headed over. His GPS led him to a poorly lit, creepy block with nothing but abandoned warehouses. After looking around for a couple minutes, he finally saw a woman, but she was walking further and further away from the original pickup spot. She matched the picture on his app, and so he drove up to her and rolled his window down. "Are you Sia?" he asked. The woman stopped walking and looked at him. She was a bit shaken and confused, but she nodded. He gestured for her to come in, and she slowly opened the door and sat in the passenger seat. "How are you this evening?" Kai asked. Sia just continued to stare ahead of her. She was rubbing her neck nervously. Then she began patting down her body as though looking for something. After a couple more moments of silence, she finally spoke. "Shit, I think I lost my phone and my bag." She spoke slowly, slurring and stumbling on her words. She looked at Kai. I don't remember calling a car." "Oh, is that not you?" Kai pointed to the photo on his phone. "No, that's definitely me," Sia confirmed. I don't know where I am." "We're in the warehouse district," Kai replied. "What were you doing over there anyway?" I think I was taking a shortcut. Yeah, I think I was taking a shortcut home. I don't remember." Kai was beginning to get a little suspicious. He noticed that her eyes were bloodshot. Maybe she was really drunk. Kai was not looking forward to the possibility of her getting sick in his car. It was definitely not the way he wanted his first ride to go. He handed her a bottle of water. "Would you like some water?" "Ah!" Sia smacked the bottle out of his hand. Okay, Kai thought. There was definitely something wrong with this woman. I'm sorry, I have no idea why I did that. Sure, I'll take some water." Kai watched in the corner of his eye as she leaned over to grab the bottle from where it landed by her feet. And that's when he noticed them for the first time. Her feet. They pointed backwards. He almost lost control of the car when he saw them. That's when he knew. The woman sitting next to him was a bhoot. In India, a bhoot is the spirit of a recently deceased person. Their feet are pointed backwards and always hover above the ground because the earth is too sacred for them to touch. They are also terrified of water. This woman must have died very recently, thought Kai, because she still didn't seem to understand that she was dead. He felt sorry for her, but immediately snapped out of it. He knew that he had to get her out of his car before she realized she was dead. With his right hand still on the wheel, Kai slowly reached over to his door compartment. He carefully unscrewed the top of another bottle of water, slowly so Sia would not notice. As he did this, Sia continued to rub her neck. She pulled down the visor, brushed aside her thick black hair, and examined her neck in the mirror and screamed. Kai looked over and saw that her neck was completely purple and bruised with a red ring caused from friction. He could see the look of realization wash over Sia's face. Her once timid expression morphed into that of pure, unfiltered fury. She turned her now pitch-black eyes toward Kai, just as he sprayed her with the open bottle of water. She yelled in agony as the water burned her skin, and in a few moments, she was gone. Not realizing he had been holding his breath, Kai let out a sigh of relief. His heart was still pounding out of his chest. "I'm never driving for car share again," he thought to himself. His hands were shaking, and when he heard the steady drumming of the rumble strip, he realized he was drifting into the shoulder and jerked the car back into his lane. "Pay attention," he thought. His eyes darted around the car nervously, and when he was certain that he was completely alone, he began to punch in the directions to head home. Kai was suddenly blinded when some jackass began tailgating him with his brights all the way on. Kai began to speed up to get some distance from the car behind him when he realized he had knocked his rear view mirror out of line when he sprayed the boot. He adjusted the mirror back into place and saw two pitch black eyes staring back at him. The driver, who had been tailgating him, later reported to authorities that something lunged at Kai before he fishtailed off the road and slammed into a post. There was only one body in the mangled wreck. The next morning, a few miles away, Sia's body was found in the warehouse district. So they say, beware of who you let into your car late at night. They just might be a boot. Thank you to all of our patrons, especially Kai, who had a character named after them in today's episode. If you'd like to join our VIP program, visit patreon.com/snarled. Fall is my absolute favorite season. Chilly weather, changing leaves, and of course, Halloween. Updating your wardrobe for the new fall season can be expensive, but it doesn't have to be. Let me tell you about my favorite online thrift store, ThredUp. ThredUp is the largest online thrift store where you can buy and sell secondhand women and kids fashion. Shop over 35,000 brands like Anthropologie, Free People, Marc Jacobs, and more for up to 90% off estimated retail. Secondhand shopping isn't scary at all. In fact, ThredUp makes it super easy and fun. You can filter by style, price, color, and condition to quickly find what you're looking for. Every item is triple inspected by hand to ensure it's in high quality condition. Lots of items even have the tags still on. I love ThredUp because I get the insane deals of thrifting without leaving my house. Plus, you're helping out the environment by shopping secondhand. It's a win-win. I recently got a bunch of sweaters to keep warm, all for over 60% off their original price. With over 35,000 brands to shop and thousands of arrivals every day, you'll never have to pay full price again with ThredUp. For a limited time, ThredUp is offering Something Scary listeners a special deal for an extra 30% off your first order when you go to thredup.com/ss. Want more Something Scary? You can hear more stories over on the Something Scary podcast, available for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. The links are in the description below. If you'd like to submit a story, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Like and share this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, sweet dreams.
Hey, my dark darlings. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about one of our sponsors without whom we wouldn't be able to do the show every week. So, of course, I'm talking about Best Fiends, that super casual and cute mobile puzzle game. You know, the one with all the cute little bugs and slugs in it. So I always have my phone on me. So whenever I want to take a quick break from researching horror titles and movies, I can enjoy some puzzles with my Best Fiends. Plus, I do a lot of traveling lately. So because there's no internet connection needed, Best Fiends has become one of my go-to pleasures whenever I'm flying. It's visually fun, and I like that it also stays fresh. Best Fiends updates the game monthly, so with my attention span, that's great, because then you have those new levels plus events. So engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must play. Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. Did you know these video episodes tell just one of the fan-submitted stories that we adapt for the podcast every week? The Chills and Spills continue on the Something Scary podcast. Hear the rest for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Hey, I'm Markia. Want to hear something scary? Whispers that bite. At schools, there is a sound that never quite goes away. It can linger everywhere you turn, haunting the halls, and even following you home. For years, a towering schoolhouse had ushered new students like Chris into its dimly lit brick halls. No matter where Chris went in the sprawling school, the classroom, the cafeteria, even the library, Chris heard chattering and whispers about her. Hushed gossip taunted and sniped at her from around every corner. Every mean word buzzed in her ears and repeated over and over in her head. This went on for weeks, until one day, Mrs. Abate, the school counselor, called Chris into her office. "You seem to be having trouble with your transition to our school," Mrs. Abate pointed out. As she listened, Chris noticed the counselor tugging at her high-collared blouse that almost hid a series of small pitted scars along her neck. "I'm not very well liked here," Chris admitted. "Everyone is always talking about me, whispering behind my back. As hard as it is, don't listen. Our school is a very special place," Mrs. Abate replied. "But you are more than what people say you are. Block the whispers out. Don't let them get under your skin." That night, Chris sat at home, scrolling through her phone. A post by a classmate, Ryan, caught her eye. It was about Chris, referring to her as a poor, know-it-all, ugly monster, saying Chris didn't belong at their school. Poor, know-it-all, ugly monster. For a stunned moment, Chris sat in the shame of those words. They hissed and lingered with her, just like the whispers she heard in school. Chris kept scrolling. Other students had commented, adding their own nasty words to the thread. The chorus of cruel buzzing grew with every new comment. Were they right? Was she somehow gross? A monster? Ow! Something bit the tip of Chris's thumb. She watched as an angry red welt swelled and rose. The heck was that? Chris looked around frantically for a bug. All at once, Chris felt sharp pricks along her arms. Something was biting her over and over. The buzzing roared. Chris clawed at the bumps appearing along her hands, on the back of her arms, desperate to stop the itch. Was it spiders, bed bugs? She couldn't find what they were, where they were coming from. Chris could only feel them, pinching, burrowing beneath her skin, spreading, misshaping her arms with grotesque red peaks. Chris scratched. Her scratching turned frenzied, skin tearing and bleeding beneath the tug of her nails. Catching sight of herself in the mirror, Chris stared at herself in horror. "I am a monster." She spun away from her deformed reflection, believing every horrible thing they had said. On her phone, the comments kept coming. The whispers buzzed on. The next day at school, Chris showed up in long sleeves. She'd woken up with her arms and legs covered in oozing sores. A few had even spread to her neck. Ashamed, Chris slumped to her desk. Around her, classmates shot glances her way, turning to one another to whisper. A giggle caught Chris's attention. Ryan, mouth scowling in disgust, was gesturing to Chris's rash-riddled neck. Chris tugged her shirt up, trying to hide her sores from view. She thought of Mrs. Abate's own high collar and remembered her words. Chris had let the whispers upset her, she realized. This school was a special place indeed. But I am more than what people say about me, she reminded herself. Across the room, Ryan giggled again. The hum of the whispers grew. Chris's shoulders straightened. She stood up. "Speak up," she demanded over the growing buzz permeating the air. Ryan stopped giggling. Excuse me? Speak up. Chris planted herself firmly. If you were saying something kind, you wouldn't need to whisper. For a moment, the buzzing faltered. Why do you need to hide your face behind a computer screen? The class, ooh, looking at the two. Ryan paled as gossip started buzzing around her, suddenly crying out something bit her mouth. A red bump growing on her face, then another, spreading. The buzz growing stronger this time. Then all around Ryan, classmates turned to one another, exchanging whispers all about Ryan. Within the mania of the gossip, it didn't stop there. They also turned on one another, tearing into each other with words. And Chris could see what was happening to them, could see them scratching at bumps like hers. They began to peel and pop on their skin. They growled and snapped at each other, getting nastier, spitting insults like daggers. The buzzing swelled to a deafening cacophony. Ryan turned her eyes back on Chris. You're doing this. You're infecting us. No, Chris commanded over the clamor. We've infected ourselves. The whispers don't care. They'll attack any of us. I'm not a monster, and neither are you. No one here is. The buzzing dipped. Softer now. We can't keep allowing other people's words to make us one. The last vengeful buzz died. Though the whispers had died down for now, everyone noticed that a few pitted scars remained on their skin. They each had been marked by each other's words of cruelty and would carry those marks for years to come. They were a reminder that the whispers would always be there, and that whispers can bite. Thank you to all of our patrons. While we do run a limited amount of ads, the show wouldn't be possible without your support. If you want to keep these videos coming, please visit patreon.com/snarled. Want more Something Scary? You can hear more stories over on the Something Scary podcast, available for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. The links are in the description below. If you'd like to submit a story, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Like and share this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, my dark darlings, sweet dreams. I'm a steadfast believer in dressing fashionably for less. And a great way to stay thrifty while doing that is by using ThredUp. Since I'm constantly freshening up my wardrobe, ThredUp helps me stay kinder to my wallet. The latest dress I nabbed is a slinky Kenneth Cole snakeskin print cocktail dress. Y'all, normally it's $119 and I got it for $18.99. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this dress, and instead of taking hours looking on the racks, it only took a couple of minutes looking for what I wanted by that designer on ThredUp. It's that easy. Plus, ThredUp gets new arrivals constantly, so there's always new treasures to find. Shopping sustainably just got a whole lot easier and more affordable with ThredUp. ThredUp is the largest online thrift store with your favorite brands like Lululemon, Everlane, Madewell, and more for up to 90% off estimated retail. Get an exclusive offer of an extra 30% off your first order when you go to thredup.com/SS. That's THREDUP.com/SS for 30% off your first order today. Terms apply. Did you know these video episodes tell just one of the stories that we do for the podcast every week? The chills and spills continue on the Something Scary podcast. Hear the rest for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Hey, I'm Markia. Wanna hear something scary? The Haunted Library. We have all had to follow our parents on take your child to work days during school breaks and vacations. But have you ever encountered entities that might want to follow you home from work? The smell of the library is like no other. Books, musty carpet, and the whiff of patrons' past mingle together to create a unique perfume of memories. An old library was the last place 13-year-old Alexandra Garcia went to spend her spring break. But it was either the library or she would have to do beach cleanups or bikes, and Alexandra was an inside kind of girl. She opted for the library because it had Wi-Fi and air conditioning. Alexandra luxuriated in the crisp, artificially cooled air that pumped through the vents. But every now and then, the hairs on her neck stood up when an extra chilly gust of air blew on her, out of the wind. She shivered as her mom looked up from her work. Dotingly, Belinda quickly pulled a sweater from her chair and handed it to her daughter. "Mija, put on a sweater. I don't want you catching a cold." Alexandra rolled her eyes but took the sweater and headed off to explore the building and maybe find that darn thermostat. Movement caught her eye and the sound of a giggle near the basement door. Seeing caution tape on the basement door intrigued her. In the basement, she looked down the dark hallways, a faint glow of light behind her. The basement was unlike the rest of the library. The shelves were filled with old relics and papers. She pulled one out. It was a newspaper clipping of a little girl with long dark hair and piercing brown eyes. The headline read, "Local family dies in house fire." In the photo, the girl sat in a family portrait, gazing into the camera. The address of the house was that of the library. The fire appeared to have started in the basement and spread to the rest of the house. The newspaper was dated 50 years ago today. Weirded out, she looked up and finally saw the thermostat. Just as her fingers reached out and touched the temperature gauge, she was shocked on the switch. Ouch! A cold gust of air touched the back of her neck. It felt like tiny, icy hands. Alexandra turned to see a little girl with blunt brown bangs and long dark hair in a sailor dress. She jumped up at Alexandra and pulled her hair while giggling.
"You're going to play with me forever now."
It was a little girl with piercing brown eyes from the photo.
"It's already started."
She teased. A long line of shelves suddenly caught on fire, and the alarms began to sound. The halls filled with smoke and flames. Alexandra turned to run, but again she felt cold hands grab at her, firmly holding her ankles. Alexandra screamed for her mother. The fire traveled quickly through the basement shelves, engulfing the stacks of newspapers. Alexandra coughed and yelled as she kicked out at the hands. The ghostly hands refused to let her go. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Smoke filled her lungs. A piece of fiery paper fluttered down and landed on her, singeing the side of her face. She cried and prayed, believing she would suffer the same fate as that family from the newspaper clipping. The little girl ghost had led her to her doom, and it laughed as if it were playing with its favorite toy. Suddenly there was a blast. There was a fire extinguisher blowing a path through the flames. She looked up to see the silhouette of her mother, Belinda, coming to her rescue. Belinda fired the fire extinguisher at the ghost until the little girl released her hold on Alexandra, who rushed to her mother's side. "Mama!" Belinda wrapped one arm around her daughter as she crouched under the smoke, pressing the sweater against Alexandra's face. They both blindly stumbled back to the upstairs of the library. The fire alarm sounded, shrieking loudly through the building. From there, they ran outside and collapsed on the curb, waiting for the fire trucks to arrive. In the doorway of the building, they could both faintly make out the image of the little girl staring at them as the flames roared around her. Alexandra shivered and looked down at her ankles. There were purple scratch marks where the little girl's hands had held her down. She reached for her mother, who kissed the top of her head and told her as lovingly as only a mother could, "Gracias a Dios, we made it. Next spring break, you're spending at La Bonita." Hey, my dark darlings. I wanted to tell you about one of our sponsors, without whom we wouldn't be able to do this show every week. Of course, I'm talking about Best Fiends, that super cute, casual mobile puzzle game. I've been traveling a lot lately, visiting family and friends, So Best Fiends has become one of my go-to pleasures for, well, on the go. Since no internet connection is needed for Best Fiends, I can take a quick break, whip out my phone, and enjoy some puzzles whenever I want. Along with the cute bug avatars, the game also stays fresh. Best Fiends updates the game monthly. New levels plus events. Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must-play. Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. Let me talk to you about Buffy. And no, I don't mean the Vampire Slayer. I'm talking about the company that makes earth-friendly and cruelty-free bedding out of sustainable and recycled materials. I just received The Breeze. It's the latest comforter from Buffy. Normally, I get cold when I sleep, so I tend to stack on the blankets, which leads to overheating. So then I kick off the blankets, freeze, and it's just a tragic cycle. But with The Breeze, it actually regulates my temperature, keeping me cozy without the overheating. The Breeze is made of cruelty-free eucalyptus fabric, inside and out. For me, it is just so soothing against my skin. It feels softer than cotton. And The Breeze just brings wellness to bed. It's 100% plant-based bedding that's better for you. Why not choose that? Plus, Buffy offers a free trial. You can try a comforter in your own bed for free. And if you don't love it, return it at no cost. For $20 off your Buffy comforter, visit buffy.co and enter SCARY. Remember, to get $20 off your Buffy comforter, go to buffy.co and enter the promo code SCARY.
Thank you to all of our patrons. While we do run a limited amount of ads, the show would not be possible without your support. If you want to keep these videos coming, please visit patreon.com/snarled. Want more Something Scary? You can hear more stories over on the Something Scary podcast. Available for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. The links are in the description below. If you'd like to submit a story, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Like and share this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications. And if you dare, follow me on social media. Until next time, my dark darlings, sweet dreams.
Hey, my dark darlings. I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Buffy. They're a company that makes earth-friendly and cruelty-free bedding out of sustainable and recycled materials. They sent me The Breeze. It's the latest comforter made by them. So with other comforters, I tend to overheat when I sleep. I mean, there's a lot of blankets involved and then a tragic cycle of tossing them off, freezing, waking up, piling them back on. But when I sleep with The Breeze, it actually regulates my temperature. I love that it keeps me cozy all night long without the overheating. The Breeze is made of hypoallergenic eucalyptus fabric, inside and out. And its high thread count makes for an overall healthier sleeping environment. The Breeze just brings wellness to bed. It's 100% plant-based bedding that's better for you, so why not choose that? Plus, Buffy offers a free trial. You can try a comforter in your own